Now that we argued that the science alone or technology alone or market-based approaches alone cannot probably solve the climate change problem in its entirety, let's see why we need collective action in the first place. Okay, so climate science, technological innovation, and communicating accurate information and market-based economic incentives are all trying to tackle parts of climate change, but they are not solving the problem all on their own. Okay, so they are not yet transforming key behaviors by corporations, governments, and societies at the scale required to mitigate or slow down climate change at the rate needed to avoid dangerous impacts or dangerous anthropogenic interference and so on. Okay? Values, definitions, philosophies are all involved in everything we say here, but nonetheless, what else do we need? So this is where collective action begins to come in. This is what makes climate change a problem of power. And problem of power, there's a chopper going by. Problems of power is where the people who are most directly affected do not have the authority or the ability to make the change. The most stark examples of those are obviously the sea level rise that is affecting Bangladesh, which historically hasn't contributed very much to the accumulated carbon or the global warming since Industrial Revolution. And even though it is already being affected by sea level rise, for example, when cyclones come in, and the cyclones are getting more intense because of the global warming as well, ocean warming especially, and Bangladesh doesn't have the power to do anything or the ability to do anything, even for its own people sometimes. Okay, this is a problem of power. It can be also at individual level, like a farmer who's suffering because of global warming, losing crop yields, or crops are becoming unsuitable for that climate now, and so on. Okay, so Saul Alinsky once said that when you are trying to make political change, there are two sources of power: organized money and organized people. It turns out that organized money hasn't always been a key ingredient for winning. Many people assume that the oil companies, fossil fuel companies have lots of money, hence they always win. Actually, it turns out that's not the case. Beyond a certain point, money doesn't give you more power necessarily. Okay, organized people. So if you are not on the side of the organized money, then you need organized people. That's where leadership and so on come in. Defining social movements themselves, Edwin Amenta defines social movement as a set of a set of actors and organizations that are seeking to alter power deficits, people who don't have as much power as they need to deal with the things that are directly affecting them, and to effect social transformation through the state by mobilizing regular citizens for sustained political action. So, social movement is a set of actors and organizations that are seeking to alter the power deficit and attempting to effect social transformation through the state by mobilizing regular citizens for sustained political action. Okay, there are some famous examples we will look at. Social movements are efforts to solve the problems of power. So individual people or individual groups, communities, regions may not have the power, but there are movements that can be created where the problem of power is solved with social movements. So, okay, to do that, social movements have to face two challenges. First one is, how do you get ordinary people involved in sustained political action? Okay, this is where mobilizing and organizing come in. Secondly, how do you translate that political action into the kind of influence or power necessary to make the change that you want to see? So the action basically has to be transformative. Okay, so the difference between mobilizing and organizing, as we will see going forward, is that the example in the book is cute. You can, let's say, got a lot of people mobilized to buy ketchup, whatever, good example, right? And just because you got many people to buy ketchup, it doesn't become a transformative action. Okay, transformative action is something that actually leads to change of power structure, leads to solving a problem or an issue that was identified. Okay, buying ketchup together or the same brand doesn't necessarily solve. But if you got people to avoid buying one particular ketchup because it was doing harm to the environment and so on, then it begins to get towards organizing. So that's the difference between mobilizing and organizing. We'll see a little bit more about it in a minute, but I think you get the idea. So social movements are needed when people who are directly affected by something do not have the power to prevent further harm to themselves or their region, their environment, their resources like water, air, soil, or being mined, for example. We talked about the example of wasteland in the previous chapter, where some governments themselves may think these people are not worthy of consideration in terms of their water quality or air quality. So you start mining in a region like the Native American land that was used to mine uranium, or the power plants that are put in certain neighborhoods in California, certain wastewater treatment plants put in certain neighborhoods in big cities like New York, and so on. So it is the lack of power. So social movement is anything that is transformative enough to create power for people who have a power deficit, which means they don't have enough power or ability to deal with the problems that is imposed on them by external agencies. Okay, external governments, external companies, and so on. It could be deforestation in Amazonia, it could be many things.